Okay, so here we are again. Straight Talk, right? So we're going to call it from now on, Straight Talk?
This is Straight Talk.
With
Prose.
and ConMan21. So what are we talking about today? We're doing intros?
I was just gonna ask you about that. I didn't know if we were gonna do our dating podcast since we talked about that.
I think we need to introduce ourselves first.
But that's lame.
It's not, because I think people would prefer to know who's talking to them.
Well, maybe they want to know us by learning about the things we think about things, and then they'll be like, maybe then I'll hear some boring stories about
their
gayness.
Real lives, their gayness.
Gay. So. We can shut this shit down.
But I don't want to now because of all the stuff you're saying.
All right, folks. We're talking about something. Go ahead. Just start.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, we should figure out what we're going to do, actually.
We could talk about the queer things. I don't care.
The queer things?
We'll talk about the queer things.
Our queer lives?
We're talking about our queer lives.
Our not very queer lives.
That's true. Let's be honest. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Our lives were not queer until later in life.
Well, there are some things that maybe you should know about me.
Well, there are things I did growing up, but I did not live the homosexual lifestyle. Until I got to college. Because I was just surrounded by many other queer people, which was different.
In college?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, that makes sense. When you have a community, you feel like you have the opportunity to explore, be yourself, learn who you are. That's what we're all doing in college anyway. Trying to figure out who we are, what we're doing.
That's true.
How we want to present ourselves. Are you going to tell your thing? You going to talk about yourself?
I could talk first, and then...
Yeah, you talk about yourself, and then I will wow you with my fantastic story.
And you will wow me. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, here I go. Look at me go. So I was born in Texas, and I was raised in a Mexican and Roman Catholic household. So you can tell from there...
Yeah.
Just how insecure I was growing up. Once
sure.
I discovered that, I'm different. So, yeah. I did the whole going to church every Sunday. Mm-hmm. And at the age of 4, we moved up to rural Minnesota. So that didn't help things either. And, it was the 90s, so it wasn't as open as things are now, right. Even though things still aren't amazing. But it was less amazing even back then. And yeah, so going to like a church and, religion classes that pretty much only told things from like the heterosexual perspective, and that was the only okay thing to be, was
sure.
Kind of rough to hear. Once I got to high school, that's when things kind of took a turn for the worse. At least their version of high school was 7th through 12th grade.
Oh, that's weird.
Because it was a small community.
Sure.
So they couldn't afford like the typical middle school thing,
separate brick and mortar.
Yeah. So once we got to their version of high school, was when things started getting weird, I guess. 'Cause up until then, like, I had no issues with anyone, and then I found myself being kind of picked on, ostracized, and it was weird because, like, I was getting called all these things, and I didn't understand who I was yet.
Sure.
So, having people make fun of me for being, like, feminine and stuff is like, this is who I've always been. Like, why is it not okay now? And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact, that there were older students around, too, so it was kind of to impress these older students.
Yeah.
And then that's like the whole period when I started like closing off into myself. Like, I would not report any of the bullying that happened to anyone, not even my parents. And it got to a point where I was pretty much faking sick to stay home because I just didn't want to go to school anymore. It would have been the summer after my 9th grade year, things kind of hit a point where I got picked on in public in the town we lived in. And then after that, like, I never went back to that school. I've never talked about that to anyone. I think it's only my family that knows about that.
Wow.
And then after that was when I went to Texas for a year, and then I moved here to where I live now and finished off my high school here. It was probably towards the end of my high school career when I was finally starting to realize this is what it's called. But there was still that fear. So when I did come out, I came out as bisexual first. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. I came out as gay, and then I got scared because of my parents' reaction when I told them the first time. And then I was scared because I had always been the person who did everything to please their parents. And I felt like I lost some of that approval. So I kind of retracted and said, oh, well, I think I might be bi. And to all of the bisexual people out there, I'm sorry, because that's what makes it hard for bi people to come out, and why people think that being bisexual is just a phase. Yeah, so I came out, went back in the closet for a little bit, said I was bi. Then I came out again in college, and then after the last time, I came out to everyone. It was just something that I needed to do, and I know my dad didn't understand why I needed to tell everyone. So what ended up happening was I wrote a letter to my parents explaining my side of things. There was no way I would be able to tell them face to face. Like, I would have been a complete mess, or I would have probably chickened out. And so I wrote them a letter, and I sent it on a Friday. And because they live so close, it would have only taken like a day for it to get to them. And then that following Monday, I emailed every family member whose email I had and told them. And so, like, for the following week, like, my parents were getting calls, like, asking how they were.
Sure.
I kept getting calls. It was the big coming out, and a lot of my family was like, well, yeah, we knew it, but like, never before, though, had any of them really expressed support in me being gay. They would just, point out how, I had feminine qualities or how I present myself. So there was never like, if you're gay, that's fine. Like, I never had that.
Right.
But then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, well, we knew, it's about time you came out. And it's like, well, this would have been easier if you guys had said something in support rather than kind of making light of it, if that's what they were doing. Because I have family that tends to do that. It's like, oh, well, that's okay because that's who they are. But, that's still a little damaging to someone who's still growing up and coming into their own.
Absolutely.
Since then, at least things in terms of accepting myself for who I am have become a lot easier. I still notice that I have, like, hints of, like, internalized homophobia because, like, that's what I grew up around for 20-some years before I actually fully came out. But, like, at least I'm starting to notice it, though, in myself when it happens. So, but I'm starting to notice it so, I can change it. That's what I meant.
Right.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. Well, I like what you said about the internalized, because there are a lot of things that, well, over the span of my life that I've noticed within myself, and just that awareness over time, just, again, it just helps me to be like, oh, okay, where's that coming from? What is that? What does that mean? How come? Like, say, for instance, so when I grew up, I always thought that gay men were icky, because for some reason I knew that was wrong. And there was not really a lot of talk about, like, lesbians. It was like the gays, but they were men. So like 80s, early 90s, it was all about, like, guys. So I'm like, okay, apparently that's bad. However, I also, I feel like I need to back up, but I want to make this point. I also pretty soon learned that, boys plus girls equals yes. And so I needed to make sure that I modified what I thought and what my behavior was, what my preferences were, or at least how I presented them, to be a certain way. So here is something that I haven't really told anyone. Hello. So when I was in kindergarten, one of my first memories of kindergarten was meeting a girl. Her name was Megan. And the first conversation that I ever had with her, we had those like little tables where, you sit like 4 or 6 to a table, and she's sitting across from me, and I look at her and she's got these like hairy arms, which is weird for a 5-year-old. And I'm like, your arms are hairy. And I have no idea what she said to me after that, but I know that every day, in and out, up and down, roundabout, it was me and Megan. She was my best friend. And before I knew anything about sexuality, before I knew anything about girls or boys or whatever, I understood my own feelings. And so for like 5-year-old love, like I totally loved this girl and she totally loved me. So we would just hang out and spend all of our time together, all of the playtime together. I'd draw her pictures, and she like kissed me on the playground kind of thing, like a 5-year-old, cute kind of thing. And this to me was totally normal. I didn't feel like anything different or weird, or it wasn't something that we were trying to hide, or we weren't ashamed of it. We were just each other's people, which is really weird for 5-year-olds, but that's just what happened. But then I abruptly moved away. So I found myself all of the years after that looking for surrogate Megans. I moved around a lot. So every time I moved around, I would see a girl with dark curly hair and hairy arms. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, this is going to be my Megan. And it was Stephanie. And it never worked. I never found my surrogate Megan. And all of my best friends growing up, I had crushes on girls. All of them were girls. And so, of course, I could never tell them about this because I knew at least by the time I got to 4th grade that this was not a thing. It's not a normal thing. But every single best friend that I've had, and there's been a lot since I moved around, I had crushes on. I remember middle school, I had a crush on a boy, but he was gay, but not out. So he was super effeminate. I'm very attracted to femininity. And so sometimes I will get crushes on the gay boys. It's good. I didn't really know why. I thought it was like, okay, cool, I'm bi. But really what the bottom line is I'm very attracted to femininity. Anyhow, so I kind of went in and out, calling myself bi and straight and whatever. All of my crushes and all of my loves were unrequited. Until I was about 18 years old. I was hanging out with my best friend, which for a little while, at least for a little while, every best friend, I kind of had a crush on them, but it wears off after a while. And so I was hanging out with her. We were 2 punk kids, we were we were at a punk show, and then we went to an after party, and we were just staying out all night, crashing at random people's houses, doing the things that 18-year-olds do. Yeah. So we were at this after party, crashing at people's houses, and anyway, while we were at the punk show, there was this girl there, super lesbian girl, and like she had a cape and everything. It was awesome. So I was like, I had eyes for this girl, and she had eyes for me, and we were kind of like sort of flirting throughout the night, and so what had happened was, this was my first kind of mutual, affectionate situation that happened, which was really weird because at this time I was super religious, knew totally about like, what is supposed to be quote unquote right and quote unquote wrong according to like the Bible and all of that. But it was just so important to me because my entire life, since 1988, I was looking for that companionship. And this was some random person that I didn't really know, but it was just like all of that time that I was just wanting someone else to like me back. Like this was the first time someone did. Oh, we never really had a relationship. We would on and off, like, hang out and stuff like that. But it never really worked out. So there was a period of time where I basically just started calling myself asexual because I knew that I wasn't supposed to be gay and I was supposed to be bi. So I was just like, well, sex is kind of gross and I don't like it, so I'm just gonna not deal with that for a long time. Anyway, super fast forward. It's hard to, like, really tell all the details of the story to where it makes sense because a lot of things have to do with my religion and my devotion to that. And I feel like it's a whole separate podcast. Anyway, I kind of let go of a lot of beliefs that I had. And it wasn't because of my sexuality. It was more just because of a lot of other things that I'll go to, maybe in another time. And as a consequence of letting go of some of those beliefs, I kind of realized that I had been hurting myself for my entire life and shutting off a part of myself that didn't have to be shut off. I was doing it because I thought I had to. So I went through this short grieving period of, like, oh my gosh, now I'm in this, like, long-term relationship with a dude, and we're on the fast straight train to Foreverville, and Foreverville, and I'm like, oh no, and I do love this guy, and he's my bestest friend, and he understood. Oh.
I'm kidding.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
Well, besides Coleman, he's my bestest friend who has a penis. And but anyway, he understood, like, you know, I was asexual, then I was demisexual, you know, kind of like I can be romantic towards guys. Anyway, so he was okay with that. But anyway, so when I started talking to him about my feelings and all of that, he was like, I totally support you, and, like, whatever we need to do, let's do that. You need to be yourself. And he's, like, pushing me, like, you need to stop repressing yourself. You need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. I don't want to see you die. You need to live. So he just totally supported me and totally loved me in the time where I was really grieving what I had done to myself for the past 33 years. And he was, like, trying to push me to, like, get a girlfriend. He's like, I love you so much, but you need to live. And so that's kind of where I am right now. I feel like I need a whole separate episode to get into more details about why things kind of came together. But one of the reasons why I'm not totally out is because I just feel like there are people in my life who are not quite ready for it. And so when I feel like I have the energy to help them be ready for it, then I'll come out completely. That's really one of my own only reasons why I'm not totally out, but that's where I am now, and it's only been, I don't know, maybe a few months to where I've been kind of like, I'm free to be the greatest man alive. the greatest, yeah. So I'm just really grateful, though, because I have a couple friends and they super support me and they love me and they take me to gay bars and help me try to pick up girls, which doesn't really work because I'm too shy.
You are. You just get out there and talk to them.
Get out there and talk to them. I don't talk to people. I'm an extreme introvert, so.
Well, you're kind of breaking that, though, because, like, you're actually going to the bar.
I am. I'm
so
trying
at least
to.
You're taking steps in the right direction.
Right. And I got a Moves account. This is the gay Facebook, as I call it. Gay book. Queer book. And that was an experience for me because everybody there is queer. And I'm like, oh, I could check out girls. This is crazy.
It's not limited to gay people, though.
It's not, though.
But yeah, everyone pretty much is. Everyone I've come across has been.
Yeah, some sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of a great first start for me to, like, work on my flirting skills.
Oh.
That and OkCupid. Like, boy, I hit it hard. I was like, girl, what's up? Not really, but, you know. So, yeah, I'm doing whatever I can to sort of build my confidence to
No, that's good though.
Do what I need to do.
Take it at the pace you need to.
Take it at the pace I need to.
Right.
Anyway, so we need to get out of here because
Right.
my story is complicated and I took too long to tell it.
No, it's fine because we don't have a time limit. Not really.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a little longer than it. The last couple of the first one and then the side one.
Yes.
Long story short, when we need to talk about things, we'll just upload those things without the other one.
Yes.
But they're not part of technically Straight Talk.
Yes.
They're going to be our own little
side
cats.
Side hoes.
Yes, our side hoes. So yeah. And we'll probably make playlists. So if you don't want to if you don't care to listen to us talk individually, you don't have to listen to those.
Right on. But
yeah.
you do care.
Right.
And we care about you.
The way you said that sounded like
propaganda.
Propaganda / commercialism.
That's right. That's what we value here on Straight Talk.
Propaganda and commercialism.
Propaganda.
So if you guys want to send us money, no, I'm kidding.
But what you could do is you could share this with your friends-os and hit that like-sos and subscribe-sos, and you can send us your questions or your queries.
Or you can comment too on the video.
Hey, comment on this video because if you don't comment, no one else will, and then the video won't be seen, and then people won't be able to hear things that are important.
And if you have any questions that you want to send us via email,
queries
that maybe we could answer for you, at least from our perspective, because we're not all knowing.
Of course not.
But we can do our best to help you if you need help. We do have an email that is Prose and ConMan21 @gmail.com.
That's right.
So, yeah. And we'll probably put that in the description because we should. But yeah.
Right. So we want to know your questions. We want to also be a support group for you. Because we all need that. That's why I came to social media. That's why we're doing this queer cast.
Yes. This queer cast.
To get your queries.
You really like that word.
I'm
you
done.
really like that word.
I'm finished.
Queries.
We're done.
Okay, we're done.
Don't pull it out.
Leave it in.